my faith is basically it's only ever me in this waking dream. It's only me and source. Everything else looks like things, but they're just facets of source.
Yeah.
And so it's just suddenly feeling that and surrendering to the knowingness of that. But despite all appearances in this dream, that's the real reality. That's my favorite method.
Hello, dreamers. My name's Lisa, and I'm the Dreamwork Coach. I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Cynthia Sue Larson, who I've been a fan of for years now. Like way back, I've been watching all of your content, so I'm so excited you're here. Cynthia Sue Larson is a life coach and the best-selling author of several books, including Quantum Jumps, Reality Shifts, and High Energy Money, and has been featured in numerous shows, including Gaia, the History Channel, Coast to Coast AM, One World with Deepak Chopra, and BBC. She has a degree in physics from UC Berkeley and an MBA degree from San Francisco State University. Cynthia is also the founder of RealityShifters and the creator and host of Living the Quantum Dream on the Dream Vision 7 radio network, where she regularly covers the topics of quantum jumping, reality shifts, lucid dreaming, lucid living, and how consciousness changes the physical world. She is always reminding people to ask, how good can it get, no matter what's happening, because our thoughts and feelings literally change the physical world. So welcome, Cynthia.
Yay. Thank you so much. It's so good to be with you and talking about dreams and quantum and all the stuff I love to work on. And I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I have been a fan for a while, and I have read your books and I've been following your content for years now. And I really love what you do. And so it may come to no surprise, though, that I'm extremely interested in the dreaming aspect of everything because I teach dream work. So I'm hoping, though, before we dive deep into the quantum dreaming realm, if maybe you can share a little bit about what is quantum jumping and reality shifting to people who they might just be meeting you right now. If you could just share a little of that.
Yeah, people are usually surprised to hear that they have been doing this reality shifting, quantum jumping, probably all their lives. A lot of people are not noticing it. Other people are noticing it, but it's one of those spectrum things. So it starts with everybody experiencing it, like dreaming, and then just like Wim Hof and breath work, you can get more advanced in reality shifting and quantum jumping. Reality shifting, as I describe it, it's real. So some people say, like, is this real? Yes, it's real. You're literally noticing that things are different than you remember that they used to be. And so it could be things, I've described it as things appearing, disappearing, transporting, and just changes in the way we experience time. So all of those kind of changes have been also documented by researchers like Mary Rose Barrington, and she called it just one of those things, or JOT, and others have called it disappearing object phenomenon. And now we've got the Mandela Effect. So I'm putting all these together so people get a sense that it's the same thing. And it has been documented for now over 100 years, thanks to Mary Rose Barrington's work, going back to the early 1900s. And then mine picking it up in the late 1900s and coming forward the last 24, 25 years. Quantum jumping is something that I describe as also quite real and also something everybody does. But now it's working with all of our intentionality to literally experience a different reality on purpose. And there are ways to do that, to attain that kind of experience. But to me, all of these, I approach it from a spiritual path rather than me, I'm going to get what I think I want. That seems what some people may think that they want. And so I just like them to know right off the bat, this is, for me, spiritual growth. It's about a process of internal development and appreciation and really learning to accept parts of oneself that people may want to push under the carpet and not look at.
Yeah, dreams are good at shining a spotlight on things you don't want to see. So, or things you might think you're, in a good high vibration spot, if you're following the law of attraction, like I need to be positive and happy and I'll get what I want. But then you'll dream the total opposite. Like you can have dream feelings that were very uncomfortable. And that's where I love, standard night dreams as opposed to lucid dreams a lot of the time, because those standard night dreams, they're showing you how you really feel. You're not in control to the point as you are sometimes in a lucid dream. So yeah, one of the big things we say in the active dreaming world is that dreams will show you the secret wishes of your soul. So they'll help you uncover what it is you need and want at a soul level, apart from your ego.
I love the way that dreams can integrate or assist us in the process of integration. They don't do the integration, but they allow us the tools by which we can start seeing something that may look unpleasant. And I'm right there with you. Like, let's not ignore that, as tempting as it may be. Like, I don't want to deal with this. But the thing is, when it's from the subconscious, what I notice is that's what we need. And you will absolutely get that. And that's where people freak out. Like, no, but I don't want that. Like, well, that's not even, that's not even an option. It's going there because it's in your subconscious. So that's a given. You need it. Like, but I don't need it. Well, that you don't want it, but obviously you need it.
Yeah. Exactly. So I love dreaming. So let me just, this is the first time we're chatting and getting to know each other. I wanted to fill you in a little bit about like what I do and what active dreaming is. So basically, this is like my life story summed up into like a minute here. I have been, well, probably a little longer than a minute. I've been on this like lifelong quest to figure out like, what is reality? There's always little clues here and there that there's something more going on than what meets the eye. The synchronicities that happen. For me, like I went down a major rabbit hole and discovered you years ago. You were on a YouTube interview talking about disappearing object phenomenon. And it was right after a painting had gone missing in my house. And it was like a half finished painting. So I painted it in 2 different sittings. The first time it was, and ironically, it's a painting of the universe. Like I painted the stars and the universe, and I let it dry, set it aside. I wanted to finish it later. And I was going to paint an alien on it. And then, so my sister-in-law comes over a little while later, and I'm like, I want to finish my painting. She's painting something, and I'm going to go grab that painting and finish it. And it's gone. I know exactly where it was because I walk by it every day. It's right next to my printer in my old office. It was like right next to my printer on my desk. And my house is not that cluttered. That room was a little cluttered, to be honest, but it was sitting on the desk. I saw it every day. She's helping me search for this. We searched high and low all over, the 2 of us together. It wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And then a couple days later, I printed something and went to go get it out of the printer, and it's sitting right there in a spot you cannot miss it. So this is on my mind, and I hear in the background you on TV talking about like misplaced keys showing up and stuff, and I was like, oh, this was a mind-blowing moment for me. You're how I found out about the Mandela Effect. My sister-in-law and I both started going down that rabbit hole because of this whole thing, and then hearing about you. So yeah, I've been on this like lifelong mission and down all these rabbit holes. And I've also been a lifelong dreamer. I've always had really vivid dreams ever since I was a kid. And it was around the same time that this was all happening that I discovered, I knew of Robert Moss, but I found out that he taught a class for dream teachers. So he would train people to become dream teachers and teach active dreaming. And I never really knew he did that before. And Robert Moss is the creator of active dreaming. So I finished his courses, and now I'm a level 3 dream teacher certified by him to teach active dreaming. And in a nutshell, active dreaming is a way of working with both night dreams and waking dreams. You call it lucid living, but we call it chiromancy, but it's the same concept. And then also the liminal spaces in between. So like the hypnagogic zone, it ties them all together, very much like you do in your books and reality shifters and things. So as a dream work coach, as an active dreaming coach, I help people learn how to work with their night dreams, how to navigate via waking signs and synchronicities. And then like the third big pillar of active dreaming is that it utilizes shamanic lucid dreaming, shamanic journeys to get you into that hypnagogic state between awake and asleep, where we can access that, like bigger world behind the world, where we get the answers to those big questions and can initiate healing and connection with spirit guides and things like that. So it's this shamanism aspect. There's this huge shamanism aspect to active dreaming. And this is where I find it very intriguing what you do. So shamans believe that there's this web of life that connects everything in non-physical world and in physical world. And that anything that happens anywhere, it matters and it's real. So everything is meaningful, whether or not it happens in ordinary reality or in a dream or any state of consciousness in between. And active dreaming is basically giving you the tools in which to interact with this web of life. Or you could say quantum universe, because everything is connected. And it's all about creating the life that you really want, that your soul really desires. So that's in a nutshell what I do. And after seeing some of your recent content about dreaming and lucid dreaming, I got back into, I read your books again. I just read Reality Shifters. I finished it again last night. But I keep getting blown away with how similar it is. So I'm just so like, I'll let you talk here now, but I'm just so excited to be connecting with you, and because we share all of this in common.
Right. And you're right that there's a big similarity there with shamanism. And in my book, Reality Shifts, I talk about the Tibetan approach too, that there's that these ancient like yogic practices and Tibetan Buddhism practices recognize that you should almost sort of ignore things changing in the room. Kind of like, that's going to happen. Like, well, wait a minute, ignore that? Like, yeah, ignore that. And just like me, they would say, let's focus on you. Let's align you, let's work on that. And it sounds like it's similar what you're doing with the active dreaming. And active dreaming, it reminds me so much of I don't know if you read the book or saw the movie Lathe of Heaven with productive dreaming. And it's the idea, it's almost like bringing the shamanistic idea that your thoughts and feelings will change the physical world. And in the science fiction kind of a story, I'm not going to give it away because it's worth reading or watching.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah. And so it's basically showing that every time this person, the individual, the character in the story would dream, that he would wake up and the world is different, literally. And I think some people are feeling they're living through that with these Mandela effects to the point that they say things like, this is not my reality. I'm from this other, Sagittarius arm universe or something. They feel like I'm not even in the right universe. Everything's changed. We used to be on the very, very far outer edge, and now we're toward the middle. What happened? Why does the sun look different? Why are the kidneys in a different place? So we're seeing these changes on a global scale. But again, this was predicted. If you go back to indigenous wisdom, and it's part of why I was part of the Language of Spirit conferences when they were happening, that were started by scientist David Bohm, who came up with the holographic interpretation of quantum physics. He got together with Leroy Little Bear, who is a Blackfoot elder. And the two of them in connection with some linguists, language experts, who are the translators between the world of the physics and the language of the Blackfoot and Blackfoot. I mean, these indigenous languages for shaman, yes, bring together these ideas of how is the reality really working. And so when I was part of those dialogues with these people, Leroy Little Bear was still there. Unfortunately, David Bohm had passed on, but there were other scientists like Fred Alan Wolf came to some of them, and I was there when he was there, and other scientists as well. But that dialogue, which is a dialogue, works on the principle, like you said, the web of life. And so in a circle where the position of each individual participating matters, chosen by Leroy Little Bear, I was part of an inner circle the year we talked about the time travel idea, because working through time and space is different when you recognize that consciousness is fundamental. Consciousness, you cannot get behind consciousness, as the father of quantum physics once said, Max Planck. And so my takeaway is I'm working with the background from like Tarthang Tulku, who's a Tibetan Buddhist. Time, Space, and Knowledge is a book I cite that source in Reality Shifts. That's thousands of years of Tibetan Buddhist thinking. And I've done a lot of the studies and exercises before I wrote Reality Shifts, because I realized this is the same thing. And shamanism is the same thing. And so, and it works with dreams, and it works with being lucid. And I describe lucid living, like you said, and the ideas, and I don't get into the particulars of how to do it. I do that one-on-one with clients, because what I've learned is it's not something that I can, or I don't feel right. Let's put it that way. I don't feel right putting it into a recipe for people to follow, because I'm noticing that people are too unique. My expertise seems to be working with clients who already either are going through Kundalini or have gone through it. Those are my regular clients, my primary body of clients. Those are the ones that stick with me because they really see things differently. When you're running Kundalini energy, any thought you have tends to be manifesting. So it's a whole other world, and it is very high vibratory living. Feels like on a short leash, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. It's like, so I came about this in like a dream is what actually like woke me up. Like I had this really powerful dream one night, just sporadically, where in the dream I was in this place that was like, it's hard to explain, but it was like this place of everything. Like I could have been as tiny as a molecule, or I could have been as huge as the space between the universe. It was like there was nothing, but everything was in there at the same time. It's really hard to explain. And there was this like presence of a woman there. She felt like my mom, like she felt like a motherly figure, just this like infinite love, just this feeling of like love and connection and understanding, you know, like, and I could feel and see at the same time, every life I ever lived or would live, there were billions of them, you know, like parallel shoots off here. It was crazy. And when I woke up, my arms were in the air. My arm, like I was laying down sleeping, but my arms were above me. And I was like, what? Like I've had wild dreams, but this was on a new level. I just went somewhere, you know, and like I feel like I legitimately went to go to the place where creation is made. Like it felt like this place of creation. And I looked it up and I was like, the only thing I could find anything close to it, people were talking about Kundalini, your body moving on its own. And I was like, did I just have one of those? Like,
what? When you talk about point of creation, yeah, sounds like it. Totally sounds like it.
Wild. And I didn't know anything about any of this before. So it was a dream that woke me up. And then ever since then, I've been having often, like almost every night in that place, like right when you're falling asleep, not so much hypnagogic, but after that, when we're supposed to not be dreaming, that part of the night, I dream for sure. And I remember it. And I think we all dream, we just don't remember it. Of that, I go back to places like that all the time where I'm living a billion lives at one time and I can make choices. And I wonder, this is a question I have for you. So it came up perfectly. I wonder do you ever experience dreams like that? And do you think it's possible that we could be picking our futures while we're sleeping like that? Like we go to this place and we're like, yes, this is the timeline I want. And then we do wake up into a new world because we just did that, but we don't remember usually. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes I've had deja vu experiences where I'll be like, one in particular is so beautiful. I like these moments in life. Those are my gems, my jewels, my treasure. When you just, your heart is full, you're having an amazing sensory experience with deep meaning at the same time. And it's just like this, it's like a painting. It's like that moment is so special. So I was living one of those, running barefoot through the nighttime wet, damp grass in the backyard with my daughters giggling and laughing alongside me. We're just running barefoot through that grass. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've dreamt this. The moon was there, nice summer breeze. And it just like, and it was just amazing. Like I have dreamt this. I have been here and seen it from so many angles because I love this moment. And, I could feel it. And then I remembered I did dream it before and some months earlier. But sometimes when I'm having these amazing moments, I'll notice that it's like I'm viewing it from outside of space and time, lots and lots and lots and lots of times. That's why I say these are my jewels. It's part of the true web of life that I see. It's the way we really connect, it's the way we really care about people. Like what we're doing in that moment matters. Who we are, how we're connected with the earth, with each other. And absolutely. But back to your question. I mean, I'm just showing you, like, to me, it matters tremendously. And those moments are navigation points because we care so much about them that when we're, for example, pruning, possible reality paths that we recognize for one reason or another, like I don't need, like in my life, I don't need to experience being taken over by negative entities or having, that degree of nightmares. I basically have a no nightmare rule. So even if I'm asleep, I wake up in the dream and I'm working on it. It's like, okay, what is this? Nightmare meaning, it's important for someone who's gone through Kundalini, because what we actually fixate on and what we lock in with kind of like quantum Zeno effect of focus, we can absolutely manifest that. And I've learned, let's not do that. Let's put it that way, because it's not just for me, but it's for everybody. Let's not do that. So it's like, okay, this feels like, and so I'm training myself to wake up inside the dream, take a look at it. All of this factors into what you're saying. It's totally related. This is a huge topic because it's got like all these little facets, and so I think I lost the thread of your original question, but it was something about.
I think you answered it. I was just basically like, do you think that we can choose that reality while we're sleeping?
Oh, yes.
And then wake up into it.
And we can train ourselves to wake up at different levels, because that whole idea of, as you know, with active, I don't know active dreaming, the technique that Robert Moss teaches, but I do know this kind of productive dreaming, this shamanic dreaming, that it requires levels of awareness of self. So this question of who am I, when I talk with clients about, I'll do a blind reading before each session. How are they feeling? What do they need at the level of high self, middle self, low self, and divine gift? So it gives me instantly a snapshot, and without knowing anything about them. I do it blind on purpose so that then I trust the information, because it's coming through directly. It's like when we dream, it comes through directly. So I'm not kidding myself, I'm not kidding them. I'm just saying, this is what I'm getting. And that's amazing, because then it gives us the ability, once we start learning to listen to our own high self, our own heart and middle self, our own gut. And these are neural centers. There are diaphragms to breathe at each of these levels. So working with them makes sense. But then it gives us an insight. What about the higher levels? And that's where the fun, it doesn't begin there, but that's where the fun really seems otherworldly. When you ask, have I had dreams like that? Oh, yes. I've had amazing Kundalini dreams. They're not dreams. It's like, this is stuff that's happening and I'm awake. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And it can make people feel like myself at the time in the 90s. I felt like the 1990s. I felt like I think maybe I'm losing my mind, but I'm not. But I am. Like, uh-oh.
Yes. You can feel like you're losing your mind. And then I'm like, who do I even talk to about this? I can't tell anybody about this, because
I know. Right.
I'm crazy.
I think the most interesting thing about Kundalini for me personally is that I've gotten phone calls that seem random, but I've been guided to receive them. Like, oh, it's a good time to go sit next to the phone now. Sit down, just breathe deeply, get super grounded, get super tuned in, energized, and then the phone rings and I pick it up. And it's a landline. I'm like, and I'm not expecting the call, and I never pick up a call. I'm not expecting, but I do these like, hello. And then it's like they've got my unlisted phone number and they're having a Kundalini spontaneous combustion moment. They're about to blow. And so it's like, oh, no problem. And I just know, like, I'm right here with you. It's like the emergency Kundalini hotline. That is how cool Kundalini is. That is how cool this whole thing is. We are so connected, and we can have the assistance we need no matter what things look like. It can be different. And to me, that's what the reality shifting, quantum jumping is all about. It's to remind us deeply of that important essential truth. Even if people don't have a Kundalini experience yet, even if they're not enrolled in Robert Moss's classes, even if they're not a shaman, it doesn't matter. You can still benefit from this. It's for all of us.
Yeah. And that is really what active dreaming is all about too. It's about walking in both worlds at the same time, basically. Like, to know that we're always dreaming. This is a dream. Like,
it is.
The way I think, I have tried to wrap my head around this so many times, because I have a bachelor's of science. It's in archaeology, but I have that, like, I love science. I have a scientific brain, and I think very logically. Like, my personality type is an INTP. My Myers-Briggs. It's a very logical thinker, but I do this, like, I even try to wrap my own head around that sometimes. But I try to marry the dreaming spiritual world with the whys. Like, why does this happen? And what's the science behind it? And there must be a reason behind all of it. So I really tried to wrap my head around this. And the way I kind of like, how would this look? How do we actually experience this? It's easy to sit in a chair and think about how, the concepts, but how does it feel? What's it feel like to be, living in a fourth or fifth dimension? What would that look like? And sometimes I try to picture it like, almost like, I'm a photographer too. So like almost like a camera lens. and you're just ticking the lens 1 millimeter, like 1/8 of a millimeter, a little bit, and then you're in another reality. You're like in another parallel universe. So if I'm ever in a tough spot, or I'm feeling like I need to stop thinking negatively about something, or I need a situation to shift, like this person's being really mean to me or something, I'll visualize myself just ticking over, just like I just twist the lens just like a slight 1/2 of a millimeter. And now I'm the new Lisa that can handle this. Now I'm the new Lisa from parallel world who's more equipped, to not be angry at this stuff. And it really tends to help. So that's just something I do in my head. It's very hard to explain, but
and people
if we're
can
always
train
dreaming,
themselves.
it's possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And you can get there pretty fast if you adopt that writing journaling approach where you write about yourself third person. So you'd say, today Lisa woke up, today Lisa went outside, today Lisa fed her cute little dog,
Yeah.
And so you're talking about yourself third person. And what you're training, it may seem stupid, and you might even feel embarrassed, like, why am I journaling like this? Okay, it's for a very good reason. It's to attain rather quickly a new habit of seeing yourself that way, so that you're not stuck in this little puppet show where you're in a physical body, but instead you recognize, oh, I get to dress this little puppet and take care of this little puppet and make her life wonderful today. Right. I know what she needs. She needs to do these things. Let's do these things. And then suddenly you know what you need to do in every moment, even when you don't know what's going on. And suddenly you're inside that dream like that. Like one of the fastest ways to get there. It's a process, but it starts with journal yourself in third person. And there's a name for that psychologically. And it's a well-known phenomenon in psychology. And I've got my bachelor's degree is physics, so but I love psychology too. So when I went to UC Berkeley, I was taking just about as many classes in psychology as I could. It seemed like there's something phenomenal here. Consciousness fascinated me. Yeah. Because when I was quite young, I remembered what it was like before I was born. So that with coming into this life with that recollection and the love of just hanging out in the purity of these experiences. So I know what it's like to go through the full life review. I know that's why the true jewels are these moments we have, like talking with you today, meeting you, and this conversation, this relationship. This matters. It's a treasure. And it hits my heart so deep. I feel like I'm gonna cry. I'll feel it like instantly.
I'll cry.
and it's a jewel because we care. And when you look back at your life and you look at what mattered, what moments mattered, it's these, and it could be talking to your dog or a neighbor or anybody or the garden. I got carried away there, but I just.
I'm glad you did. I love it. And it is. It's very special. I'm really happy that we're talking and getting started on something really exciting. So, yay. All right, let's get back to dreaming. What do you think of, and this is very on topic to what we were just talking about, but dreams within dreams. This has been happening to me a lot just lately. Like the past week, I've had many dreams where they're lifelong dreams. Like I'm in the dream for weeks. Like I get up, go to bed many times, and I'm still in the same dream. And then in that dream, I'll fall asleep and I'll dream again. Recently it's been lucid. So I've had sleep paralysis inside a dream just this last week where I'm like, oh no, I gotta move. There's someone right here and I can't move and I just want to yell, but I can't yell and I feel threatened. And so I'm like, no, you're dreaming, wake up. And I did in the dream. I'm still dreaming though. And I didn't realize it. Like, what do you think about these different levels of consciousness and like, how do they play in? Obviously, we all think we're dreaming now, but where do you think we fall within the Russian doll stack of reality? Like, what do you think of that?
Well, for me, for anybody who has that memory, like I'm describing about, it's called Being Born Aware. And there's a book by Diane Brandon about it. So I'm mentioning that because then you get a touchstone. So anybody who has had, sometimes the near-death experiencers might also have a touchstone. What do I mean by touchstone? It's kind of this sense of fundamental identity. So even if you are dreaming or dreaming within a dream, that's not you. What do I mean by that? It's like, who you really are. It's the original face concept. Like, who were you before you were born? And so when you have that, and that's a great thing to meditate on, a great thing to tune into and recognize, like, then you can have that anchor, that sense of, then you'll know, like, I'm always within a dream. If I've got some kind of body, like, haha,
Yeah.
very funny,
Right.
like, I know that's not me. And
Yeah.
so then there's an instant clarity. And then who are you? That's like the ultimate question, besides why does anything exist at all? Like, why is
Mhm.
there time and space? And then who are you? These are like the top questions,
Yeah.
right?
Do you know the answers to any of
Well, I think the way we
them?
choose how we go about looking at it tells you your philosophy. And I tend to be, I'm an optimist, so I like the work of Nicholas Rescher, who wrote a great philosophy book called Axiogenesis, which basically posits that the reason that there is anything at all is in order to create. It's kind of like it's process philosophy. So it's looking at the way things move. So it's like the Blackfoot language is all, it's a verbiness. So I'm a verb, you're a verb. We're not these bodies, we are being, we're essence.
Mhm.
We're human beings, right? We're not human bodies. So so this idea that we have this identity that's so much more vibrant, fluid, and flowing, that's one that comes from either an experience of near-death experience where you die and then you're alive and you realize, whoa, I'm so much, I saw
Mhm.
myself. Or you were born aware, like each chapter in that book by Diane Brandon. And I've got a chapter in there that I contributed. It's called Whoops, Wrong Planet. Because I seriously thought they'd been a mistake.
Like I couldn't have chosen to come here. Come on.
I know, like people are in such disarray, right? They say
Yeah.
one thing, do something else, and yet what they really need is yet a third thing. Like, come on, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This has got to be a joke. Like, not a joke? Wow. So anyway, yeah, so that I think locking into that is the fastest way that I know, but you have to have it through an experience like near-death experience or born aware. But you could probably meditate, and I think just asking, who were you before you were born? Who are you really? That can take you deeper. Some people might not want that. Like, well, wait a minute, I don't want that journey. But I think if you're adventurous, then of course, why not take that journey? That's like the only ride in town. That's like the real thing.
Oh yeah.
That's
I'm an adventurous. I'll do it.
yeah.
We
And if
do in Robert's classes when we were becoming dream teachers, we did a lot of, he would drum for us and take us on these journeys. And one of them was to meet our ancestors. And sometimes in a shamanic journey, I can't tell if I'm making this stuff up or if it's real, because I'm like, well, this is just me. I'm making this up. But sometimes it surprises me so much that I know I couldn't have made that up. Another reason I like spontaneous dreams is because to me, they feel more real. I could never have made that up. It was so bizarre, But so in this cave of our ancestors, when we're on this journey, I find bat people, they're humanoids, but they have skin wings like a bat. And they came up to me and they sewed these wings onto my back, basically saying, you're one of us, remember? And then I went flying around with them in this underground world. It was a cave, but there were trees and there was light down there. So yeah, I'm adventurous. I'll ask those questions because you might get something really bizarre like that. Like what planet was that even on? I would love to go back into that dream, and explore that some more for sure. But speaking of crazy dreams, let's talk about lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
You are really good at talking about lucid dreaming. And I love what you've been talking about lately. Could you maybe explain a little bit about how, what role does lucid dreaming play with reality shifting? Like, how do you tie those together?
Right. Well, to me, the lucid dreaming is the process of recognizing that one can have the ability to wake up within a sleep cycle. So you're technically asleep. You might be having the REM dream pattern, and at some point within that REM sleeping state, one might have given oneself the intention. I think Robert Moss has some great tips on how to do this. I'm sure he does. And taking a class would probably be the best thing. But whatever approach a person uses to notice, like, I'm going to look at my hand, and then they do that simple exercise that you do it in the daytime. You look at your hand and like, okay, I know what my hands look like. But if you do that in a dream and something's a little bit odd, like that's a great one right there. Usually you've got your hands with you, and if the fingers are waving around, or you're missing a finger, or you're wearing some weird outfit, and suddenly, or you've got strange like insect like attachments or scales or something, and then
Yeah.
oh, this is a dream. So you get to that moment and you can wake up. I think that's the beginning, and then staying. Okay, here's the real trick: when you have that moment, then how do you stay in the dream? Because the excitement itself can be enough sometimes to propel oneself unexpectedly and unintentionally back into regular waking state with the excitement, like, oh, I woke up in a dream, and oh no, I'm awake.
Yeah.
So then, of course, the next step is stay cool, stay calm, stay collected. Like, oh yeah, I do this, and then notice, like, okay, now what do I want to do in that dream? So the connection with attaining that state of agency, of conscious agency, is usually at that point, people are not noticing what level of conscious agency is this. What, like, if there's a piano of dimensional consciousness, what keys am I playing in a chord right now? Very few people are going to be at that level of awareness. If for some reason you've read Reality Shifts, you saw that I wrote about that, and you took that really to heart, and you're feeling like, I am noticing that, then please, please, please notice what chords of reality construction and creation and conscious agency you're tinkering with at that moment. The chord might be something like 1, 6, and 8. That's one of my favorites. It's like on a piano, you've got like you can play chords like C and G and so forth. I don't know what 1, 6, 8 translates to, but it's the dimensions 1, 6, and 8. And when I'm in them, those are 2 dream states, and then the original Big Bang, original photons concept of you're just a point source of light. You're just like the tiniest little speck of don't even know what you are. So tiny. And then 6 and 8 are very high level dream states. And so if you're doing those 3 together, I find it optimal for reality creation, So if there's something that I'd like to bring into being, it's like if you're cooking, then that's a chord I would love to play with to bring something in. But if you've got ninth dimensional consciousness in your construct, so this moment of what level am I? If you're able to do that, wow. So just to know, like, okay, I'm in a creation mode. And then I would say, then you know what to do. If you're there, then you've probably been guided by some level of high self, probably not going to mess up. Stay in your heart space, stay in love everyone the way angels do, the way ascended masters do. Because when you're creating at that level, you can have this massive global effect. And so it's not just playing around like I just want to win the lottery. This is why I call it a spiritual path. Because because what can happen is you can end up doing something that could be karmically a learning curve moment, and which means when you go through your full life review, it's like, oh my gosh, I did that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Regretting mine already. Oh God.
Right. So first keep asking how good can it get. I love to ask people to ask that. There's so many reasons why, and that's part of it. It looks like it's such a simple question, but there's a lot behind it. So that's another big part of that. Ask how good can it get. And then you can find when you wake up in that dream and you notice whatever level you're creating on, there's no bad level. Maybe you're just awake in the dream and you're asking questions, getting answers. That's fantastic. And you're starting to make visual and obvious something that's always happening. Hopefully when you wake up, you'll notice that and you'll have some takeaways from that dream. It's not just the dream itself, it's teaching you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where, like, I'm not a natural lucid dreamer. Like, a lot of people come to me and want me to teach them lucid dreaming. I'm like, it's really not my thing. But I have learned enough that, I have helped people learn to lucid dream. It's just that I need to work on it myself more, like, because I want to get in there and do some real cool stuff. Like, I want to go in there with intentions and be like, okay, I want to talk to, certain spirit guides or deceased loved ones. Like, I'm going to get real answers. I want to get like a team of dream travelers together and, run some experiments. I think that would be really cool.
Well, you might find you might be better at doing it in like a daydream state. Don't get so fixated like it has to be a sleep state. It doesn't.
True. Yeah, that's
true.
And
I think for your INTP personality, I would recommend do it in a waking state. Do it in a daydream. It's gonna feel more natural for you. It's hard enough to give up that much control for an INTP anyway, but
yeah, I know, right? I'm glad you understand that. We did some stuff like this in our classes where we would do journeys, shamanic journeys that were
perfect. That is so
like
perfect. That's
to
like your
go
thing. That would be it.
like
Yeah.
this.
There's no bad feeling like, but it's not lucid dreaming. Don't worry about that. You're not
Yeah.
missing anything. You're not missing anything.
Okay. Because I feel like a lucid dream would be more powerful. It just
No.
feels like it would, but it's not.
Only if you give, okay, it's a mixed bag there. It could be if you have, you know how beliefs matter? I mentioned that in my
Yeah.
book, Reality Shifts.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all about the beliefs,
That's
right?
true.
So
Yeah.
if you believe that, then like,
Uh-huh.
I would recommend please don't believe that. I
Okay.
don't think it's necessary to believe that. Now, if you were already a natural born lucid dreamer and that is your thing, then I'd say, oh yeah, believe that. But
Mhm.
for you, I'd say, please don't believe that because it's not going to serve you very well. I don't see
Okay.
it. It doesn't seem like it's helping at all. It doesn't
No, it's
seem
not. Yeah.
necessary.
I'm
Drop
glad
that
you said
belief.
that. Well, because the kids these days, they're all talking about lucid dreaming. And I'm like, well, I went on that adventure. Because it is fun. Lucid dreaming is a lot of fun. But I do love what you said in Reality Shifters, that we shouldn't constantly try to be in control of the dream. We should let the dream play out and see what it has to guide us on. So I think that's a really good point. And I always mention that too when I'm talking about lucid dreaming to people. It's like, like why do you want to learn to lucid dream? I need to ask these questions to myself. Like, why do you want to do it so bad? Because I say that to other people. I'm like, you could just charity. But then I'm over here like, I really want to lucid dream. I have one more question for you. And I have a couple, but this is the last one about this stuff. What's your favorite technique for quantum jumping or reality shifting? If you find yourself in a situation, like I've heard you talk about your dogs, cataracts and stuff, like when you find yourself in a situation like that, what are you thinking? Like, how do you actually get yourself into the reality that you want? What's your favorite technique?
Well, it's basically accessing because I do remember hanging out like with source, with angels, with God, with creator, whatever you want to call it. That's real for me. So that's my touchstone. Remembering who I am when I'm like that. And remembering that even though something looks like my dog has cataracts, but I love my dog. So my favorite technique is reinforcing that bond, feeling that I told you, this is the jewels we have in our lives. It's not the stuff we own. It's not the stuff we buy. It's not souvenirs or trinkets or anything like that. It's these moments. And so just feeling the connection that I have, which is genuine and real, and how much I totally, all the moments, all those feelings of love for my dog. So they start flooding through. And I feel like I'm like, okay, this is like a freight train of love here. and then I connect with that source creator energy, knowing for a fact, because I have that faith that you could call it samadhi, whatever, it's that sattva feeling, the purity of soul, of the purity of knowing that this pure love exists. It's real. It is the primary creative force in the cosmos. It drives everything. So for me, it's a very real connection. Now I'm feeling love for the dog, and I'm feeling like I'm basically like, no, on the cataracts. I just feel like that's not necessary. So let's not do that. And feeling just how much I love the beloved family pet, how much I love source creator. And it's just like holding these two things. It's like an electric current kind of runs through. And then what I'm thinking, and I'm just going into surrender. So I'm not forcing anything. I'm not saying like this must happen this way. It's not like that. It's just feeling love and a sense of what we need is the dog to be healed. And then the other hand, just holding, I've got you, my faith is basically, it's only ever me in this waking dream. It's only me and source. Everything else looks like things, but they're just facets of source.
Yeah.
And so it's just suddenly feeling that and surrendering to the knowingness of that despite all appearances in this dream, that's the real reality. That's my favorite method.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. That is, it's beautiful. And I feel like it's easier said than done for some people, because when you're really worried about something, it's hard sometimes to put that faith and trust into.
That's what I do with clients is I'm working on their individual stuck spots and as they grow, staying with them. So that's why.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I like that one.
Good work you're doing.
Yeah, I love it. It's
I noticed some things with my dogs too, where some days they seem much older And other days they seem really young and excited and, they run around the house like they're puppies. And this one, Jack, I have 2 dogs that I don't know what the other one is. Jack gets lumps on his belly, just fatty lumps. They're not cancerous or anything. We had one removed at one point, and then I have him on herbs and stuff that seems to be helping. But some days it seems like he has lumps, and then other days they're just gone. And I'm like, how do I stick to the reality where they're gone? Stop this flip-flopping.
Yeah, that's flip-flopping for sure.
I need to stop flip-flopping and stay in that, stay in that zone.
Well,
because I have a feeling that's what's going on too.
Yeah, you can do something similar to what I'm doing if that works for you. So it's not exactly you're right. It sounds simpler than it might be to do, but to the degree that you can connect with that source energy, that pure love, that whenever you're feeling it anyway, that's a perfect time. Yeah. And if you want to be close to Jack when you're doing it, then you might even feel like there's energy flowing from your hands. Some people really, if they have that kind of added component, they feel like something it's more real. Yeah. So whatever makes it more real for you is quite good.
I love it. Yeah. Well, lately they've been doing really well. So yay.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I know it's possible. I do. And I know that you've been doing this your whole life. You're very good at that. And I'm so glad that you're teaching other people how to do it. That's like what the world needs,
Right.
More love. All we need is love.
Yeah, think about it. What if we were all these productive dreamers, these active dreamers, these lucid livers? And what if we could do that we're living lucidly and collectively? We can tackle anything and any situation, no matter what it looks like, can change. And that's at the core of my involvement in the International Mandela Effect Conference. We have these monthly live streams and definitely talk about Lazarus species, extinct animals that are coming back or plants after more than 100 years. And all these amazing Mandela effects that are happening, indicative that we're entering what some have been expecting to be this golden age of great awakening. So cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's a whole other rabbit hole. Jiffy was the one that blew my mind. Yeah. Like Jiffy, those are like the basic ones, and the Berenstain Bears, like, oh my gosh. I literally lost my mind for a couple of days. I'm like, what is reality anyway? I specifically remember it being that way.
Right. But even within this waking dream that this is, there are messages in it, and that's something that you can look at sometimes with the Mandela effect. Like, what is it telling you? And like some people look at the picture of the painting of the Mona Lisa, for example, and notice her expression is changing. On our last episode last month, Christopher Anatra was saying he's got the picture of the Mona Lisa in his office, and he walked past it, and he swears she winked at him. And so, talk about a lucid dream, Yeah. And that's in his office. So I didn't even ask, like, had you drunk something? Like, I'm not going to go there because obviously he's at work. Like, he's not going to go in. And he's in charge of the business. You're not going to go in like all tipsy or something. Right.
Yeah.
But that's so cool when that kind of stuff happens.
I know. I love it so much. So where can people find you if someone's like, oh, I want her to be my coach, or just find your books and your reality shifters?
I've got a free newsletter too, and it's all findable through RealityShifters.com. It looks like an old website because it's still the archives of over 20 years of firsthand reality shift experiences in the Your Stories section. So it's all HTML coding. I know it's an old website, but it is cool. And it's got all the newsletters there. And I do send it out once a month. And like you said, I've got a lot of books. I've got a meditation CD. I even have a children's book talking about that web of life, Karen Kimball and the Dreamweaver's Web.
Oh, how cool.
So it's about lucid dreaming for kids, and animal communication and what the world looks like when you kind of go down that. It's like, what if there was a children's book about that? And so
I know
there is.
There is. I'm going to tell people about that.
Thank you.
I've said that multiple times. Like, someone needs to write a kid's book about this, and it's not me. I don't have kids. Like, I don't know how to talk to kids. But now I have a book I can, recommend to people for it that I didn't write. So, I love it. That is so cool. Well, I'm going to sign off here. So thank you so much for being here with us. Everybody go check out Cynthia Sue Larson's website, Reality Shifters, and definitely check out her books and everything because they're so awesome. So thank you
so much too. Love what you're doing. Love who you are. And I have the feeling that we'll have the beginning of a beautiful friendship here. So
I really hope so. Yes.